Hello, everybody. My name is RODGON. I'm an artist. I'm a designer. I'm a cartoonist. I'm an illustrator. I like to draw things. And more importantly than anything, I like to teach you guys how to do things. So, let me close my window because my window is like fucking everything up. But go grab your sketchbook, guys. We're going to be drawing today. That's better. That's much better. All right, there you go. Hello, my good friends. So, you need help with eyes, and you were here early. Oh, yes. Yes. Cool. All right, since you were here early and you asked for help for eyes, how about we teach you everything there is about the eye? And we'll make it about the eyes. I like that. Thank you for submitting your first live of my summer vacation. Hell yeah, woohoo! So, seeing as we already have a theme, the moment that we get to, let's make it 1,000 likes. Once we make it to 1K likes, we will begin our lesson. But our lesson today is going to be eyes. So I'm going to teach you guys how to draw really cool eyes. And I'm also going to teach you guys really easy ways to draw them inside of a head. So if you guys learn these two concepts, you guys will be able to draw your heads and your processes a little bit easier, and you guys won't be confused as to where all your elements go. And it's really cool to understand things, because then when you understand them, then you can change them to whatever you want. Oh, we got there, yes. So, that's my puppy Mustache. He is destroying his little hippo, as he always does. But let's begin our lesson. You guys meet that quota really, really quick. But as we go along, I want you guys to understand that anytime that you guys do like and share the stream, that helps me get more followers. So that little number you guys see on the top, that number goes up if you guys like it. That number up here, all that stuff over there, that goes up if you share it. So there's little things that you guys can do to help me. So if you guys want to just click that button as much as you guys can, especially at the beginning of the stream, that helps me out a lot. And if Mustache doesn't knock over all my... You guys want to see? Hold on. Oh, no, you got caught. You got caught. What's up? You're trying to take down the stream? Oh, now you're behaving. He knew he was on camera. He's like, oh, shit. Oh, wait, damn it. Here, go play with your hippo outside down. All right, cool. So let's draw eyes. Let's learn how to draw eyes. So the eye. The eye is one of the more complex areas of the face, and it tends to be one of the most dynamic. We need to learn how to draw that really good most of the time because it really tells the whole story of some details. Like if you add that with facial expressions in the mouth, you already have a very dynamic character. You don't even need a nose. Well, in all reality, you don't really need one. You just need an indication of a nose. But I'm going to teach you guys how to draw noses too. It's going to be a whole head tutorial masterclass in one session. So let's try to get as many people as we can in here, okay? I'm going to teach you guys every single step that I know. And if Mustache... Dude. Yeah? I just gave him a haircut too, so he's all happy. He can finally see. Okay, so the eye. This little thing right here, right? The thing that beepers, the thing that we look through, the things that we, visualize, capture energy from, capture light, right? That is what we are trying to aim to draw today. Drawing this in a bunch of different ways, from realistic to cartoony, it's not very hard. It's just explained incredibly difficult, okay? A lot of the times, you guys have been taught how to see things in a very, very complicated way that teaches you nothing. So I'm going to teach you guys a little bit of how to see things with volume, a little bit with understanding how to see things and learn how to draw around them, how to use line weight to get the desired effects, and even down to the actual stylization inside of the eye. We'll talk about all that stuff, okay? Because it's not really all that hard. It's just a matter of understanding a couple components, and it comes down to understanding what's inside the eye. Okay? What does the eye comprise of? Well, the eye is a sphere. The eyeball, the actual organ that you have inside your skull, is an optical nerve muscle that has a receptor in the front. Okay? This receptor receives light. It has three components to this. We normally see them as the white area, the colored area, and the black area. So we have three different parts to it. 1, 2, 3. Okay? 1, 2, 3. This little part, there's like a membrane that like protrudes, and that part in the front is kind of like a cone. So it kind of does this at the front. But you don't have to worry about all that. You don't have to get to this level of detail unless you're trying to go for super mega hyper realistic medical illustrations, right? You don't need to get to that. In all reality, you can just draw a circle, and a circle. And if you keep them nicely centered, you have the ability to draw an eyeball. Now, that's not necessarily the entirety of an eye, right? Because if you just go ahead drawing big circle-y eyes inside of heads, you might get a certain style to it, but it's going to not be a very realistic style. You're just going to have a very cartoony style. So the next thing that we need to learn is how to draw eyelids. How do we figure out how to draw an eyelid? And I like to talk about the concept of the Pokeball. So if you draw a Pokeball, that is your eyelid splitting your eye thing in half. So if you just draw a Pokeball in space, you already have your eyelid splitting your eye in half, and you have that little circle-y part for your eye. All you do is extend that line a little bit, and then you have yourself an eye. It's kind of cool, huh? So that's one trick that you can do to do it, but we don't have to rely on tricks to understand this properly. So once we have three elements that we know are inside our eye, well, what happens if we change the different sizes of these things? What if we make the white part, let's make the white part consistent since it's the core object, and then the inside part is normally the designy part, so how about we just make it like a dinosaur, and then we add dinosaur eyelids. Or we make it into a nice, pretty little Pixar-y round eye with a highlight, and we give it nice big eyelashes, like a Disney villain, or like a seductive character or something. And then the next one, maybe we just want to do like a old school Disney, like 1920s Disney. So we just draw shape. We eliminate the colored part and we just draw one thing. You can do that same thing with a bunch of different styles. Just draw a little dot and it has like an anxiety eye, like like a person like freaking out or whatever. You can draw the eye with just one big pupil in the middle, and now it's like a really cute one. Overlap them, and it's even cuter. Oh, look at that. How cute. Right? So understanding that you can switch all these things up to get any desired effect is absolutely bonkers. And that's just drawing two circles. Two circles, three circles, three circles with a line. Right? So now how do we use that in an actual design? Because drawing all these floating elements is whatever. This is easy. But actually, no, we need to learn about the eyelid first. So since the eye is round, what else is round? Let's say things like a ball, globes, spheres. I like to think of things like grids. So in order to think of this shape more like that, you start drawing circles inside. So draw your little design that you want for your stylization, and then start drawing circles that go in the direction of the top eyelid. This is going to give you a line that goes around, and depending on how wide you want that, it's going to change how wide your actual eye opens. And if you do that the opposite way, you get the bottom eyelid. Okay, when you combine both of them, you get two lines that intersect and create your eyeball. So if you just go circle, design, crisscross lines, you have yourself an eye. This is useful when you're trying to draw both sides, and you have to get over this little area because your eyelid goes around and then you get that little curvature. So you don't have to worry about guessing. Get more free knowledge on YouTube. Hey, thank you, Whimsical. Thank you so much. I always forget to mention that I have a YouTube channel with extensive videos on everything. If you guys feel like learning about a specific topic, you guys want to learn about noses, you guys want to learn about the connection of the nose and the mouth, you guys want to learn about any other topic, really, I have every single topic on my YouTube. So you guys can go check that out if you guys feel like it. And that involves everything from understanding how to connect your head to your body, to learning how, where, the positioning of everything else in the body. So I have broken all these things down into simple processes that you guys can use to be able to understand how a body it actually works. And in a way that's not intimidating and accessible to all of you. So that's something you guys can do on my YouTube. So thank you. Let's see, the eye. Let's go back to the eye. So now that we have the eye and we understand that it's a circle with a couple circles inside, you can break it down into a circle with just two crisscrossing circles. You end up with this little, like, weird Pac-Man-y thing in the front, or this little atom-looking thing, right? Choose one side, the intersection here are the two endpoints of your eye. Connect them. That's your upper eyelid. Let the upper one overlap the bottom. Always overlap the top one with the bottom. This is what gives you depth. Okay, you need to overlap your line. If you don't overlap it, you don't have depth. If you do this, it doesn't have any depth. The moment that you go, boop, that created a ton more depth than the other one. A little tiny baby overlap can be everything. And that is why there's a lot of difference between a person that's been doing this for a very long time, aka someone like me that can understand that this little baby overlapping line, that little minuscule thing is the difference between it looking like it has depth and looking like it doesn't. And little minuscule curvatures are the difference between an experienced caricature artist, animator, designer, storyboard artist, whatever, than a person that just barely started. That is a very, very, very big component in understanding the difference between an experienced person and a person that just copies people. Because a person that copies person might not see that little overlap, and the minuscule difference is minuscule. Little tiny overlapping lines, minuscule overlapping lines can make a huge difference. Flat, those two little lines that just overlap a little bit create just enough depth to make this look like it has some roundness. And the moment that you add a little bit of a darker line combined with a thinner line, well, everything just looks a little bit better. Highlights, we can talk about highlights. The highlight is literally just a reflection of whatever light source there is in the scene. If the light source is round, your highlight is gonna be round, and it's gonna be a reflection of whatever the light source is. It does not have an anatomy component to the body. It's not related to the anatomy of the body. And it doesn't have anything to do with the anatomy system. Highlights don't matter. Highlights should be easily identifiable by just selecting where your light source is from. Let's say you have a face, you have your eyeballs, and you set a light source. Let's set a light source, and we want the light source to be, I don't know, let's make it something weird, like a flame. Right? Now, you can do two things. What is a simplified version of a flame? And then you can make like a little shape that kind of looks like that, so it looks a little bit blurry. Or you can just draw the exact same flame because it's just a reflection of that light source. Your eye detail goes behind the highlight, behind it. So it's layered as this. So the first thing you draw, or the thing on top, would be your highlight, right? That's the first thing. Then below that, you would have your little colory parts. And then behind that would be the final layer, which would be the white. So when you see them, see if you saw them stacked up together and the sun was right here, you'd have your highlight, your colory part, and your white part. And they're kind of like this. The highlight would be whatever this reflection is. The colored part with the black part is kind of like a cone. And then the white area is a circle. So those are the three components of your eye. But we don't really need to learn all this until you get to way more detailed like situations. So the highlight is just a reflection, and remember, overlapping lines, slight overlapping lines, very slight can make a huge difference. You can make them really big overlapping lines too, it doesn't matter. That's actually more how the actual eye works. But if you want to go for subtle, that is another way of doing it, okay? You don't have to overcomplicate it. The eye is not an almond. That's the shape that you see sometimes when you have an eye open at a certain size. When you have your eye open like this, it's an almond. When you have your eye open completely, that shit's not necessarily an almond. Yeah, that changes. What if you have your eye and your eyelid is, bringing up because you're disgusted? Is that still an almond? How about when you're angry? And you have your eyelids closed and you're like frustrated as hell. Is that still an almond? No. So don't think of your eyes like a shape. Your eyes are fluid. So you need to understand what is underneath them so you can draw them in the right place. And then you draw over them with anything that overlaps them. That way you know where things go, even if they are not being affected by it. So that is why we learn through anatomy instead of stylization, because a lot of the times when we learn through stylization, we shift these up and down to make sure they're in the middle. A lot of the times, things move your center of your eye, and that's why it's important to know where your eyeball goes, because the eyeball doesn't shift. It's just the stuff underneath, like above it, that shifts. Right? The eyelids shift, they can shift up and down, they can go anywhere. But the actual organ, the actual eyeball, doesn't. So that's why we draw from there. And when it comes down to the face, that's how we use that to be able to draw inside our head. Okay? And when you get better, and you want to draw more detailed, you use that same concept to be able to apply a more detailed approach to things. But a lot of times, we just like to stay at like this playful level, right? A lot of times, you just want to draw some cartoony stuff. You want to draw some fun pinups, maybe ourselves as characters, maybe some quick posters, maybe just some like icons, logos, whatever, you know? It doesn't have to be incredibly complex. Maybe you just want to draw some cute girls. The concept itself is no different. Okay, you need to learn the very basics so that you can actually use your imagination to its full extent. If you don't know, if you're still asking yourself how things work, then you don't know that part yet. And that's okay, because this is hard. All this stuff is really, really, really hard. And a lot of the times we get it explained really, really wrong. Most of the time, we just get regurgitated information given to us. Information that, that wouldn't necessarily be the greatest, but it's information, so we just take it, and then we try to learn from it. Oh, here, I was talking about the eye earlier. We're talking about how the eye is wet, and how the roundness works, and how you can play around with styles. And see, this is just all examples of how that works. So, I know that I had a person today that was they were struggling a little bit about this. So I wanted to make this video as well, because the eyes are not the easiest thing to do. But they are the most expressive part of the body. So if you want to ever learn to draw caricatures, or you want to learn to draw character design a little bit better, learning where the eyes go on your face is very important. Learning how to make them the same size is very important too. Learning what the things go around your eyes are, aka your skull, your cheekbones, all that stuff. Knowing how to identify the side of the face and understanding how to just break down a normal human structure is very important. Okay? Understanding how these things connect to each other and where they connect is a fascinating thing that it's really cool when you actually start learning about these things. When you start learning that all the little dimples and dents and stuff like that you have are just because your bone is poking or your muscles are poking out. The moment that you learn how to draw a basic skull, that tends to be the moment when you're confident about where they go. That is when you realize that now it's about what you can do with your skill, as opposed to what you can do because of your limitations. And it's really cool to know that. It's terrifying because now you don't have any excuses, but it's pretty cool. It's boring though. Ooh, let me ask you this though. Okay. It's boring. Okay. Well, no and yes. There is one part of success, one part of advice that I would give anybody that I heard when I was younger. I was growing up. I have no idea who I heard it from. I have no idea who said it. I don't remember. But it was this. It was the people that succeed in their fields tend to be so because they obsess over the things that they need to do. And they don't find the tedious things and repetition needed to become successful boring. So the person that is entertained by doing the most menial task, as you put it, as repeating anatomy processes and understanding how things work and where they connect, repeating these things over and over allows me the ability to essentially have a little baby superpower. I have the power to see through things. I have X-ray vision to a certain extent. I have artistic X-ray vision. And all those abilities of just repeating that, what you call boring, is just not boring to me at all. And that, I don't mean to tell you that you shouldn't think it's boring. That's perfectly fine. That's an acceptable reasoning. Because sometimes repetition is boring for people. But to me, it's calming. To me, this doing the same, I watch the same TV shows, I watch the same movies, I would listen to the same music all the time. To me, just refining a baby, minuscule, tiny baby part of my design drawing process can save me hundreds of hours down the line. I produce things in mass. So when I sit down, I don't draw one thing. I draw hundreds of things. When I sit down to work on things, I don't sketch out one concept. I sketch out dozens. Like I'm not a person that works through one and done type of thing. I've never been like that. I just put shit on paper until something sticks. And when that thing sticks, though, it's just an ability I can use for the rest of my life. So it's kind of like a skill tree. Let's say that you are your own anime character, right? Let me give myself some anime clothes and stuff, like some big shoes. And I'm gonna give myself, I don't know, a big belt. But then, do I have to have a big poofy jacket with a collar, huh? Yeah, that has to be the case. That's always anime characters. My weapon's gonna be a pencil or a pen. Letterman jacket. And then I'm gonna throw the peace sign. All right, cool. So we have me as a base character. The head would just fit within that collar and would be going up. I'm not thinking of anything other than just the basic volume here. And since I know how to draw things inside any shape, right, I can just divide this now and figure out where my head is gonna go. Because I have knowledge. If I didn't have that knowledge, I couldn't do this. Not as easy, at least. I already have my glasses, nose, mustache. Cool. So now I have my little character. This character unlocks different things every time a new ability unlocks. If you focus on your perspective, aka learning how to draw your volume, like cylinders, ovals, boxes, if you do that, guess what? Things like posing become really easy because you can learn to identify body parts like objects. So if you learn that, learning how to move the human body is a ridiculously simple thing. Haha, perspective leads to awesome things in your human characters. Now, you don't even need to learn any basic anatomy to do this. You can do that from a simple circle. Ta-da, and start coming up with really simple characters with little chibi bodies. Okay, by a circle, divide it. Those are 4 quadrants. You can make little things come out of those quadrants, and you have yourself chibi bodies. Ooh, so hard. Okay, once you learn this, you get there. And then when you get there, you can start using those to put your imagination to play and do whatever the hell you guys want. Okay? So that leads to this really easy. So perspective leads to that. That's your skill tree. Pew, 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 pew. Right? Then you have anatomy. Anatomy involves learning how to draw body parts. But it's not about learning how to draw the muscle fibers and shit. No. It's not about learning where all the pectoral muscles go and how does the abs curve. No, don't do that at first. That's dumb. No. You know why it's silly and dumb? Because you don't know how to draw a shape most of the time. So if you start with muscles, you're going to just get lost. Think of blobs, right? At first, it's all about blobbies. How is a human character? If you have a human character and you don't know the rib cage, the hip bones, the leg muscles, if you don't know all that stuff, what is a human body? A human body is just a big little sack with a couple of extremities coming out, right? So if we take away the extremities, we end up with this. What is this? It's just seems like two little circles and a smaller circle at the top. So if we just learn how to draw this little blobby, at the top, you have a noodle that takes your arms. Whee! At the bottom, you draw two angled circles and you draw your legs and stuff like that from there. Look at that, so hard. So anatomy in general is about understanding how your body parts come out of your actual body. It's not about learning how things are shaped, not necessarily at first. It's about learning that your legs, for example, they come at an angle from your hip bones. So if you draw a circle and you draw a little circle on the sides with a little space in the middle for your goodies, you can use that to draw legs. Ooh. Because that's where your body's legs come from. The legs can go in any direction. You can bend them in space if you know how to use perspective, or you can make them come forward if you know how to use foreshortening that comes with perspective. Okay? So the actual act of learning how to draw the leg should not be about learning how to draw the actual bone structures and stuff. It's about learning how it connects to the body so you can actually put creativity to it. So the legs connect like that. The upper body, it's more like a compass with an egg. If you draw an egg and a compass, you have access to a little circle that gives you access to your head. If you go in the middle, that's the middle of your rib cage, and it takes you to the front of your rib cage. And from the points right here, you can go boop. And that is your middle of your chest and your pectoral muscles. If you close this circle, this is so cool. When you close that circle, what you do is you create the muscle structure for your pectorals and you give yourself your back muscles. And then inside of this, you can have your arm come out from there. So that little compass gives you a lot of information really quickly. That little compass connecting it gives you the inside pectoral muscle, it gives you that back muscle, and it gives you the little pocket for your arm. The compass can move. If you move the compass is split, and then these two sides are individual. So you can move the compass, adjust that side if you need to move your arm up. If you need to move it down, you can move the compass down. If you need to rotate the character, just rotate the compass. Ta-da! So again, perspective combined with anatomy give you this, right? So these two concepts together unlock these two things. And then the third component is imagination. So how can you make these look good? Once you have these two, perspective and anatomy, you need to learn how to do all those things. But now you have to learn to make them look cool. Right? Now you have to put your thought, how do you make something so simple look decent? How are you going to do it? Right? Because it's not going to be oh, can you? No, it's a terrifying topic when you have to do your own thing and you can't say you can't do it. Now it's not about, oh, well, I'm going to learn how to do anatomy next year. No, I'm going to learn how to draw it next year. I'm like, no. Now you know how to do it. Now you just have to, well, you got to practice a little because these are new things for you guys and it's going to take a while for you guys to understand them. But once you guys do, you guys have no excuse. Now you guys have to do it. That sucks for you. The success. Oh no. Oh no. Whatever shall you do with understanding and knowledge? Anyways, let's see. So we have essentially taught you guys how to draw eyes. I have taught you guys how to draw the eyes with cool styling. I've taught you guys what highlights do. I've also taught you guys how and why you should learn perspective and anatomy, because those are the two basic skill trees that will teach you everything. There's others like composition and coloring. All that shit is secondary. All that shit is secondary. You don't need that shit. Like, no, you could go your whole career without ever learning about color and shading, and you guys could do perfectly fine. Like, absolutely amazing. And you wouldn't have to, but you should also learn it, because there is no reason not to learn the things that you are involved with in your career. But you don't need that at first. At first, you only need to do how to draw circles. So if you learn how to draw circles really good, it's going to improve your dexterity. It's going to improve your hand coordination. You're going to not make mistakes like that, because I'm distracted. But if you practice circles, your actual line work is going to improve a lot. If you learn how to draw a lot of circles, you can draw eyes really easy. If you learn how to draw eyes really easy, well, just draw a line or another circle that goes around and create an upper and a bottom eyelid. Overlap one, and now you have eyes in any single way. This is a good exercise to do if you want to practice your eyeballs. Circle, 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 circles. One overlapping line, two overlapping lines. Make one darker. Cool. Circle, 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 circle. Try to make ovals if you want. Go around the oval. So that is one exercise that you guys can do too if you guys want to improve your line quality and your circles. If you guys want to improve your depth perception, practice doing circles and connecting them at the edges, creating ovals. Not creating ovals, creating cylinders. Those cylinders can be different widths, different dimensions, depending on how full you draw that circle. This teaches you to draw complex shapes and how they connect to each other. Because then eventually these little complicated shapes are going to turn into important aspects like your legs, your shoes, your clothes, your folds, and all that stuff, okay? All this eventually turns into stuff like fingers and toes, and so this is what teaches you how to do that. If you're curious as to how to draw body parts going in extreme positions, let's see, extreme backwards would be little. Extreme forward would be bigger. And foreshortening and stuff like that, it's normally not incredibly hard. It's just a matter of understanding this to a very detailed extent and knowing that if you make something bigger and overlap it, it's going to look like it's coming for you. If you make it smaller and tapering down, it's going to look away from you. And those are concepts that come along with perspective. And I don't mean perspective as well. I don't mean perspective like horizon line perspective. Please, for the love of God, don't think that I mean this. Okay? This is not the type of perspective I teach you guys. No. This is what I would call, horizon perspective, as opposed to what I like to use, which is isometric perspective. Isometric perspective is essentially just duplicating the shape in space if you want depth. For boxes, it's just drawing that same box, but a little bit wider. For circles, it would be drawing that exact same width circle and connecting it. Why do I do it like that? Because our heads and our bodies and stuff like that don't have enough depth to do anything else, right? They don't have enough depth like a building. A building has depth. They need to be able to determine like a lot of distance. So you need to taper it to create distance. But a head doesn't have that. It just doesn't. Like our heads are not that much in perspective to do that. So a lot of the times you can draw just a basic front of the head as a box And if you want depth to this, just add a little bit of depth by duplicating this width and then connecting it. Draw a circle and you have yourself a side of the skull. It's not necessarily all that hard when you don't overcomplicate it. That same box, right? I can just choose the middle line and then move the middle line from here to here. Cool. I'm gonna draw an hourglass shape, come up with a circle, same circle that I touch my edge with, I'm gonna draw it here, and this becomes the side of my head. So you can do that in all sorts of perspectives because it's not really all that hard. Okay, so when you work with isometric perspective, drawing things in different angles becomes a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about all that depth that you're just giving yourself that doesn't really exist at the level of a skull. Unless you were like looking at from like an ant's point of view. I guess if an ant saw a skull, it would be like, it would be dynamic and like have like all that depth and stuff, you know? But unless it is that situation where you're trying to draw like a gigantic skull, you wouldn't have that sort of depth to it. Okay? It just wouldn't happen. So I find more success in just understanding how to draw that basic area that has all my features and that comes with the simplest shape. It's literally just a box. Right? If you draw a box, this is a rectangle, but if you draw a box, let's draw a box, like a square box, and you split it in half, you make a box like this. Draw an hourglass in the bottom part of the head, or the bottom part of this, and this becomes the part for your eye sockets, your eyebrows, and your nose. This also becomes where your ears are gonna go once you find the side of your head, that same height. To the top of this, the rest of this is the top of your head. So all you gotta do is draw a circle. If you want a 3/4 view, if you don't want a 3/4 view, you can draw a circle closer. Right? If you want any sort of different styles, the eyes are gonna fall right in the middle of that triangle, so you can adjust your eyelids accordingly. That triangle also gives you a little teardrop. That little teardrop can be different widths, different heights. This is gonna give you the bottom part of your face. Okay? If you want a person that's chubby, all you gotta do is do that. If you want a little kid, make it smaller. As small as you need it, or as big as you need it, depending on your style. So, box, hourglass, and then from there, I need one more section up. This distance, if I just double it, and then I double it down, 1, 2, 3, then I have the distance for my head from this part to the top of my head. A circle gives me the side of my head. From here, my jaw or my ear is gonna go at an angle. It's never gonna be completely straight down, up and down. It's at an angle, it intends to match at the bottom of the circle, and it goes up from there. So that's your ear. Any earlobe goes below that line, okay? This is the mapping point for the coarse end point of your ear. Your earlobes fall below that. Most of your ear grows above that. So from there, you find that jaw. Because from here down to the middle of your face, where that teardrop goes, that is your jaw structure. And you draw the jaw from here. It tends to go to the other side where the other ear would be, which be over there. So it goes around and connects. This is already established for you. You don't have to really do much for the front. But if you want to give it that little dent it comes at the middle of that triangle. Right in the middle of where your eye goes. Okay? Edge of this gives you the side of the face. Nose, mouth. No, somebody suggested I draw a giraffe with a party hat. I've seen them fight. They like swing their necks, right? They're like, and they like hit each other in the body. Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild. So now let's show you guys some examples of what I would do with a finished design for this. Because all these grid marks and designs just look kind of creepy, but let's draw something cool. If we were to start this design the same way that I'm teaching you guys, I would do something along the lines of this, a little teardrop, a circle for the side of my head, and give myself a nice little jaw structure really quickly. If I know that my ear is gonna be from this bottom of the circle up, I already have my ear and I have my spacing between my eye and my eye socket and my ear. So I don't have to worry about that spacing being affected. Once I find my ear on the other side, you can do that by going up, around, and down, or just draw a straight line across. Or you can draw that same circle on this side so that you know where the middle part is and you know where that ear goes, okay? There's a bunch of different ways that you guys can do it. So from there, the bottom of my ear is gonna connect to my collarbone, which is a little compass. The compass, the distance of the compass, this, is going to be relative of what styling you want to achieve. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all thing. Okay, if you want a longer neck because you want a more elegant character, just play around with moving this compass up and down a little bit. You'll eventually find it and it'll make sense. Okay, from there, the rib cage is gonna be an egg. The egg is gonna give me a front and a back. Draw through it. I have my spine now. The spine is in the back. I go and follow my spine down and I have where my hip bones will be. So now I have hip bones. My hip bones, my legs go out of my hip bone and then they curve in. So what does that do? This, from this initial point, like this is where our hip bones would end, right? If our body just connects, that's where our hip bones would begin. My leg is gonna follow to whatever outside point my thigh bone is gonna give me. And then it's gonna curve back in. It's gonna go out and then back in. Yeah, this will be on YouTube. So now that we understand how to get the leggies, from the edge of these, we're gonna draw to the middle. That's my breast tissue. And then for boobs, I gotta go from here, or I can just draw a little heart coming out of the top of my head. Sometimes that's just the easiest way to do it. You can also draw the heart from here if you want really, really perky, like breasts. Like a person with maybe smaller breasts would be better off just drawing them from here, from the collarbone, and then dragging it back to the armpits for that little compression point. But there's different ways to generate different looks in a simple way. From here, let's start drawing the face. This is my nose ridge, so I can draw my eyebrows first if I wanted to, my nose, but I'm gonna draw that nose ridge into this little triangle that gives me the access to drawing where my nose is gonna be. And I'm just gonna keep it nice and simple. Little triangle, make the line underneath a little bit darker so it gives a little bit of depth. Then this is my mouth area. The mouth is kind of like the eyeball. If you just draw two overlapping lines like this, right? But you give it negative space instead of an eyeball, aka the same exact thing, except an eyeball, you draw your teeth, you have yourself the concept of a mouth. But only for mouth, you need to add lips, so the volume goes up from there. Cool. So now let's draw a curvy line. An intersecting curvy line, and then give it volume. Dope. Nice and easy. Lemon squeezy. So at the top of this triangle, this is going to be where my eyeball's set. If this character is going to be a nice little pinup, we want nice bright eyes. So we're going to draw big eyes. We're going to draw them the same size. Okay? From there, we are going to draw maybe the eyebrows. Let's figure out what the eyebrows are going to be. Let's give her a sassy look. So the eyebrows, wherever that split is for the eye, right? This is going to be really fun for you guys. Check it out. So once you have that triangle and that's shaped like this, and you find the position for your eye, that little top of the triangle also splits your eye socket like a Pokeball. The bottom is your cheekbone. The top is going to be your eyebrow line. This can move in any direction if only the top of this can move in any direction. Okay, you can make this into any shape you want to create different facial expressions. The bottom part, however, does not really shift too much unless you have a lot of cheek muscle when you're like chubby or you're laughing and stuff like that. That's the only time that you would actually have to worry about this affecting and moving. Most of the time, this doesn't really shift. So the bottom part doesn't, but the upper part can shift to create different facial expressions. So when you come here, you already have the mapping point, and then I want a cuter facial expression, like a little sassy one. So I'm gonna draw one eyebrow down, maybe one eyebrow up. I need to leave a little more space in between the eyes. And then this little Pokeball also divides where that little division from your eyebrows dipping in and your cheekbone coming out come from. So you don't have to worry or guess this anymore. You just get to know it. You're welcome. From here, this part is the top of my head, and this has to involve my eyes. It's my forehead and my hairline. So let's see, on top of my eyebrows, how much higher than my eyebrows do I want my hairline? Let's call it here. So if that's where my hairline's gonna go, this is gonna go to the side of my head. I can draw a circle if I wanted to get that nice perfectly, and then it connects to the bottom where my ears go. The middle of my ear. The middle of my ear, sorry. From there, I get to design what type of hairstyle I want. If the hair is gonna be short, the hair stays short. It's kind of like grass. It just grows on my skull. If it starts getting longer, then it maybe needs to have a little bit of curvature, but it still looks fairly like grass. A lot of the times it's a lot of zigzags coming up and down, back and forth, okay? If you want longer hair, it starts turning into more like vines. But you gotta remember one thing about hair. Hair grows up and then falls down. So the longer it starts getting, it's gonna start being affected by gravity a little bit more. Okay? It's gonna start being thrown around by the wind a little bit more. And hair always grows up and falls down. So even if it gets longer, it starts going up and then down. And it clumps together. Right? So you start drawing clumps instead of drawing individual hairs. But it always goes up and then down, creating these little negative spaces that normally cast shadows. If the hair gets really long, especially if it gets wet, the hair is gonna cling really closely to your head, but it's still gonna have that little tiny bit of lift. Maybe it's not as floofy as when it's not wet, but when it's wet, it's gonna be straight, shiny, and it's gonna be dripping, okay? But it's always gonna go up. If you wanna know how to draw the hair in the back, draw the hair in the front, and then duplicate it in the back and do the same thing we did with the squares, okay? Take that exact same line, draw your hair. Okay, that front line that you have so many issues with, just draw that front line, duplicate that front line in the back, and you have yourself the guideline for your hair. You don't have to overcomplicate it. Then you can adjust it to be a little bit different. Once you have the guideline, you can adjust it to be whatever you want. Okay, I'm not telling you to draw the exact same part, just use it as a guideline so you don't get confused. So let's continue with the character. Now let's zoom in. Let's draw some eye styles. So we're gonna draw some eyelids, curvy line that goes over, curvy line that goes and intersects. Cool. She has terrible hair day today. We talked about the inside of the eye being 3 little circles. So this should not be an incredibly like, ooh, moment, because we've already drawn this a couple times. If I want to taper the neck, if the neck looks a little bit too big for her, because it kind of looks a little bit too big. The body looks a little too small, by the way. Just a little bit too small. So I'm going to make a little bit more volume to the body. So I'm going to taper the ears. Let's add some detail. Let's add some more hair too, because I left her without any long hair. Let's see. Okay. Taper it to make it slenderer. From the ear to the collarbone, we connect the first muscle. The ear to the collarbone, we connect our second muscle. Add a little bit of a shadow underneath the head, because it would create a shadow if there is a light source at the top and your jaw is a little bit of a stepping stone against your neck. This would create a shadow right there. That is what is casting this shadow. If you're ever wondering why people just draw a black line underneath their heads, that's why. If that line is very dark, normally you got a little bit of a shadow to the underneath of the nose as well. And the lip. They all face around the same angles. So let's see. From there, we have the collarbone, which is your bone that goes right there. You have a muscle that curves around your neck. And then here, you have a connecting point to your shoulder. From your pectorals or her breasts are a little too far up. Let's draw them a little bit lower, not necessarily bigger, just a little lower. Let's give her a bathing suit. Make this PG-13 appropriate. Then from there, our rib cage comes down and it tapers into our belly button. We have to like rotate her around because of the perspective. So that means that her hip bones are going to be rotating up. We already drew them. I don't have to worry about anything else. I already drew them. I just got to worry about how to make the perspective look the way I need it. And it's going to come with a lot of overlapping lines, okay? So we have this, we have this. So now I need to figure out where the back of her body is going to be. So if this rib cage would be normally coming down, but we're going to draw her going around. So the edge of her body would be maybe coming this way. And I also want her pointing down, so maybe changing the perspective of the legs to maybe pointing a little bit lower. Might be worth a spin. And again, if we make something look smaller, it's going to go into the distance, but I don't want to make that happen right now. I just want to draw a character that's kind of kicking her leg up or something. So again, perspective can help you determine how to adjust something to make it look a little bit more accurate, a little bit cooler. Even though that kind of looks weird. Let's see, hold on. It's just the angle that I'm drawing it in. So hip bone, side squishy part, hips. Ah, it's this side. This side looks weird because we drew it. Oh, actually, it's this side because we drew it at an extreme angle. So let's go back. Before we start just messing everything up, let's go back and redo it because even your teacher messes up sometimes. All right, so rib cage, circle around into my hip bones. Okay, so where we have, ooh, we are missing so much body. That's why it looked weird. We're just missing a ton of the body, like scale. Sometimes our drawings get away from us. Sometimes we need to learn to just stop before we put in a lot of time into it. We stop and then we adjust. Sometimes we don't have to go and work nonstop on a piece, even though we've spent a little bit of time on it, because it might just be wrong. AKA, it's making your life harder than it should be, then it's probably because something isn't right. Okay? Anyways, so this would be the approach as to how you do it. And then if you wanted to add clothing, you would have little circles that go around, touch the edges, and then make them bigger to whatever side you need more volume. And then you have things like clothing, really easy. Clothing doesn't have to be incredibly difficult. A lot of the times we just overthink things a lot. A lot of the times it's just one little overlapping line. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. Circle, make the circle a little bigger. I have shorts. Circle, matching my hip bone. Make it a little bigger. I have shorts from the other side. Whatever the circle is for your hip bone can help you determine the perspective of your clothing. Top of your hip bones connected, right, give you your belly button. The top of your hip bones give you your belly button. It also gives you the ability to draw things like mini skirts and stuff like that as well. The hip bones give you the angle for these little muscles. The hip bones, the inside of them, give you access to knowing where your abs are going to go. So yeah. And I don't like the face. I'm going to have to change the face too. Just going to draw a whole post-it over it. It's okay. She will come back stronger. Wait, not at the edge. Because then I can't bend the book. Right. Okay. So now we have this. And again, top of this is an egg. So we're going to reverse engineer it. Compass. Spine. I can draw my spine up. Draw this same circle. I can draw it for my jaw structure at the size of my head. Draw this. I'm going to choose a nice, cool little angle for my head. This compass tells me where my arm is going to go. So where do I want my arm to go? It doesn't seem like the breast is moving much, so can't move it much, otherwise it's going to look weird. So let's have our hand down here, and maybe she'll be cheering with like a slushie or something. So about there. Let's see, how would you hold it? If you have your hand like that, is she gonna be like throwing it at someone? She's cheering, so that means that her thumb is gonna be on this side. That means that her palm is gonna be holding this one over here, pinky up, and two holding it. Something like that. It's a rough estimation. We'll figure it out when we get closer. Okay, so from there, ears. split this into two. Hourglass. Circle for eye, circle for eye, circle for side of the face. I think I was just putting too much thought into it. Again, once you get the process down, you're gonna do this so much quicker. Like, you won't even think about a lot of the things that you guys are worrying about right now. Okay, that arm is looking a little weird, but we'll fix it. Overlapping lines, overlapping lines, overlapping lines, overlapping lines. Okay, let's see. That arm is the head too small? Oh my god, I can't believe I keep on drawing the heads too small. So I keep on tapering the neck, but I don't need to taper the entire neck. I just need to taper. Actually, it should be, that's the neck. This is my ears, right? And then my jaw structure is gonna come up a little bit from that. So I need the head to be a little bit bigger than that initial thing. Okay, okay. That should be the size compared to what I had before. Or is that too small still? I can't see from this angle. That might be it. This is fun. I've always enjoyed Post-its. So a lot of the time that people ask me why I have Post-its all the time is because I draw in pen. I draw in pen all the time. I don't like drawing in pencil. Pencil's too messy for me. So whenever I'm drawing with pen, I make mistakes all the time. If you guys see, like, also these Post-its are covering some sort of mistake. You know, every single one of these Post-its is covering mistake. I'm by no means, like, apart from messing up, like not messing up. I mess up all the time. I just make my sketchbooks pretty by covering them up. Let's see, did I already? Yeah, when I don't like a drawing, I'm like, ew. Let's see. Yeah, whenever I don't like something, I'm like, nope, let's fix it. So you guys don't see my mistakes, I guess, but I make them all the time. So don't be intimidated by the fact that maybe you guys see me draw like really, really pretty all the time, or it comes out pretty. I make mistakes that I consider mistakes all the time. All the time. So don't ever feel too intimidated by anyone, really. A lot of the times, you guys only see the final product of what sometimes is countless amounts of revisions, countless amounts of changes, countless amounts of things that you guys probably have no idea go into the process. So don't be too impressed with people's final artwork. Really, like, you don't know if they took them 3 hours or if it took them 20 days. It's just something that I have found come to realize. It's much easier to gauge somebody's ability and skill level if you meet them and you need to like assess them. You know, I'm a teacher, so I assess people all the time. So when you need to assess them, I can't do it from their finished artwork. I need to see them draw in person. Not in person, but I need to see them draw. Like, I need to ask them to draw a couple certain things, and if they can do them to a certain level, I know I can teach them a certain thing, a couple things. If I can't teach them a certain thing, it's because they don't know or they don't have access to that knowledge yet. So it's really tough sometimes to teach someone that doesn't know, for example, like how to see volume. If a person doesn't know how to see a circle as opposed to a sphere without adding shadows, then you don't know volume. well, at least you don't know how to represent it through drawing. You just know how to visually represent it. So if you know how to visually represent shadows, yeah, we could probably draw a lot of depth by drawing something like this, right? Ooh, depth. That is cool if you want to make something look pretty. But if you want to have to explain this, for example, as a turnaround, like how do you make this look different when there's different lightings and stuff like that? It's much easier to do when you have something along the line of a grid. If you learn about this, it's just about learning what part of the grid is going to be shadowed. When you learn this in, for example, with heads, it comes a lot into play with understanding the sides of the face. Understanding the planes of the face is what teaches you where to add shadows later. If you try to do that before you do that, like I can draw anything I like simple, and then it's gonna look like it's gonna work a lot better, mostly because I just know where shadows and stuff like that are supposed to like hit. I know how the head changes planes and angles and stuff like that. I know that the upper lip, for example, tends to be more lit up than the bottom. So if I just draw a black shape and then I draw a lighter shape on the bottom, I can represent lips. Just by knowing that simple fact. Any little line. So when I'm drawing pinups that are really simple, right? Say I'm drawing just like one for like a book signature or something like that. I know that I just have to draw a dark line and it represents the lip. But being able to do that took me 20 years. Wait, what? What face? Morning teacher, hope? Yeah, everything's well. Okay, so another way that you guys can see it. Let's talk about the face a little bit. So when you guys are drawing the faces and you guys want to draw some really quick characters like the one I just drew, things like this. This is just a circle split in 4. This bottom part becomes most of my features. So most of that feature zone is going to be right there. My ear, it just goes a little bit beyond the midline. Then your mouth is all this area. All the extra area right here. Yay! You can use that for your mouth. So, circle, divided into 4. This is your face area. So you can draw anything you want within that space. Okay. And then adjust according to whatever you need. If you need a little bit more brain space for your character, adjust accordingly. But you can start with as simple as a circle. Let's put it in 4. This is going to give you your eyes, your nose canal, your cheekbones, and your teeth, and your chin. So most of your features fall within that space. Whatever you do with this is up to you. When you start getting a little bit more knowledgeable about depth, you're going to understand that you can do everything from just a box. If you want a profile, split the box in half, draw a circle, and the rest of the space is going to be the front of your face. So you can draw your skull like that. And it's the same concept. Okay? You're taking a shape, you're using that front section for your features, right? It's this front section. So it's just it's one more division, but you get yourself the same result. The front view is even easier. The front view, I think about it more like a pill or like a box. Split it in two. Draw an hourglass. Draw your chin. And connect the sides. You have exactly the same concept. If you need to add more depth, adding the box or the pill, if you focus just on this bottom part, right, you can change the variation of the sizes of things around it to create different characters. You could make every single part a little bit different and come up with a variety of characters like that you probably didn't have access to before. You know, you can change everything about these. You can taper them, you can make them smaller, you can make them bigger. It's all about just understanding where those things go. If you make it from the side, it's an hourglass, circle, teardrop. You end up in the same thing. So that's how you can use that. Sorry about that. Mucus. You can also do the 3x3 rule. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. These two, circle. This one, circle. This one, teardrop. Ear comes after the second, connect. You can draw your heads like that as well. If you make this more like a box, you get a more interesting result. See how easy that is? This same circle, match it a little bit lower, match your skin, egg, spine, angly circle, arm, and you can just learn how to draw most of your body. Super simple, actually. The thing is, a lot of the times, these are things that are taught so hard and by people that want you to desperately learn it through a very, very complicated way because they had to. And I didn't learn this till way later in life when I was talking to other artists and other teachers. And they were like, oh, well, I don't teach my students like that because I had to learn like that. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, I was like, you're just a moron. Like, so you're trying to make other people struggle because you struggled, as opposed to trying to make people's lives easier because you learned from that struggle. I'm like, you're a moron. And he's like, oh, I don't know why I don't get engagement. I don't get followers. I don't get people to follow me. I'm like, yeah, because you are not teaching them anything. They can just look up all the shit that you're trying to teach them online. Just saying. As a teacher, you have to bring value in a way of explaining something that doesn't make sense to other people. That's essentially the biggest challenge of a teacher. Taking knowledge that you guys have learned before or don't make sense of and understand how to do it enough that I can explain it to you. In essence, making me a great artist in itself. But not with the component of wanting to make it into an actual... I don't want to be known for my art. I want to be known for what I teach. So I could care less about being the next Walt Disney. I just want to teach the next 20 Walt Disneys how to get there. And because I want to have a ticket to each one of your theme parks, okay? Like, I like theme parks now, and they're too expensive now. So I like going to theme parks. So whenever I like, this is so selfish because I want you guys to become all famous and rich and stuff like that, so that you guys can be like, oh my god, my old teacher, and I can like live off the obscure days of my like adulthood, like when I'm like 80 and I get to travel all over. And then I'm gonna be like, oh, roller coasters, and it'll be like all themed of things that I taught you guys how to do. Yep, that's the goal. So this approach works really well, especially if you just want to change things up a little bit. If you want to learn to draw characters of all shapes and sizes, you need to learn to draw all shapes and sizes. And what better way to do it if you have a mathematical equation that teaches you exactly where things are supposed to go. So once you learn this, right? Once you learn the 1, 2, 3 rule, let's add one more. We'll make it a 1, 2, 3, 4 rule. Ooh, what does that do, Rod? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So check it out. This line right here, this profile line, right, that you draw. Let's draw it in this one. Okay? This is your midline. So if you are used to drawing your components, right, as a profile, to make them a 3/4, just add one more section and you copy these features onto here. And you reduce a little bit of the side. And you have yourself a 3/4. It really isn't all that incredibly difficult. A lot of people just don't realize that this is your midline. Your profile is your midline. Your profile line, whatever you draw as a profile, that is your midline. So all you have to do is add a different side to it. It's not incredibly difficult. But normally, again, it's taught really difficult. It's like, and if you want to come up with a perfect front view from your profile, right? Just double it and center the nose. And that's it. Because a profile is only half of whatever your face is. So if you have problems with profiles, but you know how to draw a front face really good, draw your front face, right? And then split it in half. And those are the proportions of your design. A lot of the times we overthink these things. We think that we have to have some magical freaking eyesight that we don't need. We just need to be able to make sense of them in a way that we make sense of things ourselves. 2, 3. So now let's say that we choose these two as the front view. So 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry. So 1 is always going to be this side. 2 is going to be this side. So if I wanted a profile, I just draw 2, 3, 4. I eliminate 1. If I need a 3/4, I add 1 again. Ta-da! The 1, 2, 3, 4 method. And then when you find out where your front is going to be, as if it's a profile, just add a little teardrop, the size of wherever you want the bottom of your head, and connect it to number 2 or number 3. And from this side, you just connect the side of your cheek to the front. That's cool, huh? That's really cool. Yeah, so that approach helps you a lot. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 rule, right? So the 1, 2, 3, 4 rule. 2, 3, 4 rule. I just want to draw another profile. The actual anatomy that goes along with it would be more like this, you know? Like you would actually, if you wanted to actually see where the anatomy points end up, you're essentially drawing what I'm drawing essentially right now. You would be focusing a lot more on the actual concept of your details once you establish where everything goes. So it doesn't have to be cartoony. This is just a way to teach you how to actually understand where your body parts go. A funny concept that I know now is that your spine is about half the size of your full neck. So your spine inside your body is about half the size of your full entire neck. So that gives you access to knowing where those little bumps go. And your neck is going to be roughly the width of this section of your head. So your neck comes out of that circle that you draw. That is the width of your neck. That's kind of cool, huh? So you draw the box. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That circle that you draw, that's the width of your neck. You're welcome. Da 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 to say you're welcome. I'm not gonna play the song cause I'll get copyrighted today. You're welcome. Yeah, it's the width of your neck. So whatever size this is, that's the width of how your neck is supposed to be. Or you can just go down from your ears, because your ears are also the width of your neck. If you have a big neck, you need to taper that down. You can do that in both ways. See what I mean? We already talked about all the detail stuff, and we have officially ran out of time, my friends. Thank you so much. My hand hurts, that's why. Like, my hand is starting to really, really be in pain right now. And I don't know why, honestly. I think I might have just, like, hurt myself over the weekend or something. But this knuckle right here, it's in pain right now, so I'm going to have to take a break. Yeah, thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being, Thank you for being here in the class. You guys are lovely. I hope you guys learned a little bit. Signs like this make me realize that I'm not going to be able to do this forever. So I'm glad that I've already put so much content out. Because if this keeps on getting worse, I'm not going to be able to do this for very long. But I'll put this one up online so you guys have access to it. Take care. Love you all. I'll see you guys later today for another stream if I am able to actually physically do it. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow for sure for another lesson. Okay? Later, Gators. And if you guys want to learn more with Wes, go learn with Wes. Wes teaches you guys how to do all this stuff as well. Later, Gators. Love you all. Take care.